Welcome to Globe Watch with me, Charles Ebune. One of the major challenges facing the global community today is how to combat hate speech emanating principally from fake news spread mostly by the online platform, the social media. In particular, governments, institutions, and internet giants such as Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and YouTube are struggling to produce a model alongside the academia on how just best to trim the spread of hate speech across the world today. How do we handle that from a political communication point of view? My guest today on Globe Watch is a professor of politics from Israel's Open University with plus 20 years of teaching experience. Denis Charbit talks to Globe Watch. Professor Denis Charbit, welcome to Globe Watch.
Thank you.
Across the world, we have roughly 1.3 billion people subscribed to one of the largest online video platforms, YouTube. Roughly 5 billion videos are watched every day, or if not every month, in the world, where we have 30 million visitors to YouTube a day. A majority, or if not a good number of such videos, either contain hate speech, fake news, or are cooked videos. What is your last experience of a wrong video online?
I will tell you, you're right by pointing the fact that today we have a spread communication across the world, and through the social media people get information that may be fake news or that may be correct news, and it's clearly a challenge for political scientists and for specialists in political communication to help the world being capable of understanding what are good news. It's a very huge work of pedagogy, a huge work of education. We have to educate young people to distinguish between different sources of information. In the past, it was only to learn to distinguish between press of the left, press of the right, religious discourse or secular discourse. Today the challenge is more bigger. We have to teach older generation, not only the young generation, to cope with such huge information.
You just spoke about pedagogy, and
yes.
Let me just hang on with the latest Christchurch attacks in New Zealand, where the person who was carrying out the attacks was Facebook streaming it live at the same time, and the authorities of Facebook were called that we need to take such a video online. Facebook, of course, the largest social media platform in the world, roughly plus 2 billion subscribed individuals. Do you think that the online giants, social media giants, are subscribing to the pedagogy you are talking about?
I'm not sure. I think that at first it was conceived as a free media, and the idea was that if it's free, so people will have many occasions to learn about the world. But the fact is, and it was the same case with the press in the 19th century and with the television in the 20th century. I mean, technique, it's not bad as itself. It's the way you use techniques that can be oriented to good matters. Or
when I hear the defense you put to social media and the garbage of misinformation, of fake news, of scripted or unscripted propaganda that everybody says from his or her own laptop or mobile telephone and manipulates information. You seem to tell me that this is the juvenile phase of social media, because at the juvenile stage of television we had this, at the juvenile stage of the press, of the written press, we had it, at the juvenile stage of the radio we had it, so we should forgive them for the time being, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, of course, social media is creating new challenges and new problems, more than was in the press and the radio. But you have to remember that with the press in Germany, and there was an Holocaust, and with the radio there was a genocide in Rwanda. I mean, we have to understand that means of communication may be exploited to a good channel and to bad channels. I think that as for the press or the radio and the television, the age will come to intervene in judiciary means. I mean, we can't accept the idea that all is free without control, because man needs laws, man needs rules, and I'm quite sure that in the next years, because of the danger of free global internet, it will be necessary to impose such regulations on the use of internet.
Let's unpack some issues together.
Okay.
You just mentioned two of the world's macabre episodes of the past century, the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, which of course hugely contributed by Radio Setkolim, and
right.
You are talking about the Holocaust, or if you like, the massive massacre of the Jewish people by Adolf Hitler during World War II, and all of that was part of the radio propaganda messages spread during the war period. I wonder how we regulate the online world today in the era of democratic governance, freedom.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge because in one hand, we are sure that free information is good for educating people. I mean, if the people has the right and the opportunity to learn about the world, and there are many sources, it's a good incentive in order to help the people to learn about the world. But we have to understand that there is always bad and evil forces that will use the same media.
You are a professor of political science and political communication in particular. Fake news and the spread of hate speech, wherever it is found in the world today, simply falls in what they call, in some communication circles, as yellow journalism. You are an Israeli, a community which has faced some of the darkest moments of the history of the construction of humanity. When you sit and watch the way hate speech spreads and fires portions of the world today, are you worried personally?
Yes, I am worried, but maybe I will say that I don't think that there was any period in humanity in which there was not this sort of struggle between liberal forces and strong hate forces. I mean, it's not a new phenomenon that was born that is born only in the 10 last years. Of course, it's very hard it's more easy to treat press or radio and television, and of course the spread of information through internet is required from us more reflection and more thought about the proper ways to struggle with hate speech. But hate speech is not as such a new phenomenon. I mean, we have to understand that it's connected to the human nature. I mean, this permanent struggle between liberal and...
You just said that it's not a new phenomenon. Do you try to understand the intensity and the level at which it is today, compared maybe to 1920s or in the pre-biblical periods? Have you tried to compare the intensity and the rate at which?
No, of course intensity is more important today. I think that we need to learn, and maybe it will take time. I mean, there is no one-way solution. There is no instant solution in order to cope with this phenomena. We have to be, I mean, I think that governments have responsibility. I think that public opinion has a responsibility. And I think that it's a challenge because it needs more talents and more forces in order to cope with such a phenomena. I mean, we need jurists, we need specialists in communication, we need educators. I mean, it's a global challenge, and I am not sure that there are instant answers to this challenge. Of course, we have to learn the phenomena in order to be able to cope with it.
Well, at the end of World War II, there was a kind of universal declaration on human rights to accept a kind of value system that we need to protect people in 1948. Last year, in the pioneer edition of the Paris Peace Forum, which I took part, I had a discussion with the president of Microsoft, one of the giants of the online world, Brad Smith, who indicated to me that there needs to be an online legislation format which will bind governments and institutions to manage the online world legally. Is that an idea plausible to you, and how can it operate?
I think that there are at least two means. The first is an ethical code for Microsoft and from Google. I mean, they need to develop their own ethical rules of game. And on the other hand, we need to give maybe international institutions.
Do you have the impression that they are operating in a let me do what I want system today? Is that the impression?
Yes, it's my impression. Yes, and I think that maybe we have to gather all the all international institutions, UNESCO, UN, in order to deal with this challenge, because it will not be an easy. It can be a one-state solution. It can be only an internal solution. I mean, it requires cooperation, international cooperation between specialists of communication, politicians from the opposition and from the majority, intellectuals, lawyers. I mean, it's really, because it's such a big challenge, it requires a real large global thought about how to cope with this phenomenon.
Just how much does hate speech pollute an already divided Israeli political environment?
Yeah, it depends on time. For example, we had one month ago, there was election, and it's clear that during the elections, political parties from all the country and from all the currents developed such a rhetoric that was based, as you say, on fake news and sometimes on hate news, but you can say, okay, it was only 1 month, and after times comes to make the people being more tolerant to each other. It's clear that I impose a huge responsibility on the politicians. They want to win, they want to be re-elected, it's a legitimate objective, but they have to learn how to speak publicly. I will tell you, and it's really, I think that the people, Arabs and Jews, secular and Orthodox, rich and poor from the north and the south of the country, they know really how to behave in the daily life. There is no hate on the basic level of interactive conversation. The problem is a problem of political rhetoric. Instead, we have to understand, of course, democracy is based on confrontation between discourses, between way of things, the future, or programs. It's okay. I mean, I don't believe in only one voice and only one solution. But the fact that we have a divided way of seeing the future of Israel, of every country in the world, doesn't mean that we have to raise the level of hate, the level of denigrating the rival.
Before putting the question to you of what Israel in particular is doing to stream down hate speech, let me just tap media material in a survey conducted by American broadcaster CNN, indicating that there is an avalanche, there is an increase of anti-Semitism sentiments across Europe. And one of the arguments put across is that the global banking system is hijacked by the Jewish community, that the global academic community is hijacked by the Jews, and that the global security apparatus has been hijacked by the Jews. In one word, those who man the power of the world are the Jews.
I will tell you,
is that an enough justification to hate you?
I will tell you, it's very interesting because one student asked me almost the same question. He said, there is the power is in the hands of Jews. Is it true? Is it a political myth? And why does it exist? And I answer all the class, of course, but also the student. I told him yesterday, you know, it's true that we are a little number in the planet. Only 14 millions of Jews.
Out of this plus 7.5 billion citizens in the world.
Yes, and in Israel only 6.5 million of Jews. And it's true that because of their history, maybe because of the faith, that was not only based on prayer, on worship of God, but also on teaching, on learning. I mean, one of the key values of Judaism is to learn the Bible, to make commentaries about it. And it's true that during the 18th and 19th century, Jews, and among them secular Jews, displaced their interest from religion to knowledge because of this value of knowledge. And therefore, because we were minorities, so we decided to develop our talents. But meaning that a Jewish person is owning a press doesn't say and doesn't tell us that there is a Jewish domination. The fact that we have so many gifted persons in medicine, in literature, it's for the humanity. When we develop a technological means to improve the way of life, it's not only for the Jews, it's for the humanity. And the fact that there are Jews that are maybe a rich person doesn't mean that all the Jews are rich. I can tell you that in Israel, we are among the OCDE state, we have the high level of poverty. Okay, so I think that we have to answer.
Economic Organization and Cooperation in Europe. You are a university lecturer, and one of the qualities of the Jewish people that everybody identify with you guys is that you are extremely very innovative. I would like to know from you, what are the communication models and tools you are developing as a political communication expert to regulate, to contain, to outreach, to outnumber this avalanche of hate speech across the board?
You know, I will tell you and I will answer your question by, I will say, classical means. First of all, knowledge. I mean, I think that the aim of my visit here in Cameroon is to teach about Israel by opening a real dialogue about all the situation.
To an ordinary viewer watching you and I and listening to us keenly, when you say one of the best ways to trim hate speech, a major trouble in the world today is knowledge. What do you mean by the word knowledge?
I mean that I believe that among all, I mean, it's possible to address the rational element that exists in every person. I know that there are also non-rational elements, but the best way to discuss is to open the debate, not to say that there is no room for dialogue. And therefore, against such hate speech and caricatures of what is Judaism, I say to the people, read the books, listen to teachers, learn from different sources in order to, and learn especially what all these ideas of hate and prejudices against Jews lead. It leads to Holocaust. It leads to murder. We can't say, I reject the idea that Jews are dominating the world, because if it was true, so how can we explain that there was Holocaust? The Holocaust is a real proof that Jews were without the means of defending themselves. There was abandoned by humanity. And one of the explanations of the creation of Israel is the idea that we need to defend ourselves and to protect ourselves because we were abandoned at this period of time.
Well, one of the arguments put forward by white supremacist groups in particular, and you can name them from Charlottesville and whatsoever, is that the traditional media has failed to effectively do the job, and that everybody today is a journalist behind the Twitter handle, behind the Facebook and whatsoever. You have been teaching communication experts and producing leaders. When you look at the model used by the Israeli media in particular, Channel 4, Channel 8, do you think that the traditional media has really left the people behind for community managers to do the job today, as they call themselves?
I'm sure that, you know...
All social media kings.
I will tell you, you know, every person that is responsible for communication has a duty to do his best. And I'm quite sure that we are not able to overcome all the challenges, but we have to be confident in the power of knowledge, the power of reason, the possibility to exchange.
I indicated at the beginning that one of the challenges facing humanity today is fake news. Each time you are moving in the world today, can you tell me the kind of fake news experiences that shocked you?
Oh, in Israel or in the world?
Anywhere in the world.
In the world. I think that all this theory about conspiration, about the Jews dominating the world, the way sometimes Israel is treated in the media, I think that it's a very sad example of how these fake news are polluting the improvement of humanity. I mean, it's clearly a regression. Instead of developing a more comprehension between peoples, between religions, that ignore themselves. There is a problem. Ignorance is the best soil in order to develop, to permit to this fake news to spread.
Facebook founder, for example, Mark Zuckerberg, says that they are overwhelmed, they are overtaken by the enormity of material which is not correct found on their platform, and that they need governments to come and help them develop models, tools on fact-checking and counteracting. What is the response from the academia to such a statement? The academia where you belong to.
I think that it must be a cooperation between Facebook, Zuckerberg and others, and Google and the governments and the intellectual. I mean, it must be a real intimate cooperation in order to understand what happened, what is the phenomena, how we should cope with it, how to involve the courts, how to involve the training of journalists, for example. I think that it's very, very important. How to teach scholars, how to teach pupils to distinguish between media that is doing its job and media that is betraying its job.
Professor Denis Charbit from Israel's Open University in Tel Aviv, thank you very much indeed for being guest on the program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.